Okay, so I recorded this last time. I'm recording it this time for two reasons. Stuff always comes up and people can't come for some reason at the last minute. Or if you wanted to look at it again for some reason, it'll always be living there. The easiest way to find these recordings after I post them, I will send an email, but the easiest way to find them is to Google my name. So if you Google Adrienne Bergen, and then you go down about halfway on the time that I Googled it, it was about halfway down the page. There's a little square image of me and it says YouTube. So you're looking for YouTube. That's where I'm posting them in a little YouTube grouping that has my name on it. So that's where you'll find them if you're looking for them. Anyhow, welcome to our monthly meeting. I wanted to tell you that, and I wanted to tell you that I sent the agenda out last night. It should be in your inbox if you didn't already print it. This is all the Herb, I didn't make any mistakes. Herb did not email me last night at 1 a.m. to tell me I made a mistake. So this has all the dates up through March. We may be adding a few in the middle, but it includes the photography show dates. And it includes the two special event meetings we're having, the one in December and the one in March. So use that and, get that on your calendar, however you function as a human. It has also the next bunch of topics for the armchair photography group right through to March. So you can see that those are all there, and it sort of give you a one place to look for all the dates instead of having to look in different places. I just have to add something I just remembered. Website. Okay. All right. I don't have very much. We don't need a treasurer's report again. We just did that like 2 weeks ago. So, and we don't need a membership report from 2 weeks ago. So there's actually three things that I wanted to talk about under new business. And the way we're going to do this is the way we did it last time, because that worked. I'm going to do the business meeting. Then I'll turn you guys all on. Or actually, you turn yourself on if you have a question or a comment. After the question and comments about the business meeting, then I will turn it over to the educational people from the month, who are Ann and Eileen, and they will pass it between each other. Okay, so that should work for everybody. Okay. All right, the photography show. We still have a little bit of tweaking to do. I was going to have Ann talk to you about the photography show during this meeting, but the group is not really ready yet to talk to you about it. However, we have posted.
Nancy Goldberg.
Yeah.
Can't find her thing.
All right. Can somebody forward the link to Nancy Goldberg? She can't find it.
She's on that.
Somebody raise your hand if you're going to do that for me. Thank you, Doris. Tell her Doris is going to send it to her. Yeah.
Okay, Doris Lustig should be forwarded. Did you get it?
Okay, sorry. Okay, so on the website, on the Valencia Falls website, on the photography study groups page, it has the submission information, all the things that you need to know about the show. The show is going to be all virtual this year. So it's going to be a little bit different, but we are still going to be awarding ribbons and all real live ribbons. So that if you wanted to print your pictures and put a ribbon on it in your house, you can do that. But I want to make sure that everybody understands everything in the submission information. So please read it. The one thing that I want feedback on is if you read it and it's not as self-explanatory as we think it is, then we will do a mentoring session on Zoom, the way we always did the mentoring session in the clubhouse, where you could talk about your pictures with one of us, or the rules, or how to submit. But first read the directions and send me an email. This wasn't clear, or I got it all, no mentoring needed, just so we have some sense, because we're not together, some sense of how the information is getting passed along. I'd love for us to have a huge turnout for the show. The more the merrier. We're going to have 3 judges. The community will be able to do people's choice. We are just working on the logistics of how best to do all that, but we're 90% there. We've had 1 or 2 meetings already, and we'll have another one, and then we'll be able to get you any tweaking information that we need to. But I think that'll work. So just go ahead and read that information, find it and read it. All right. The second thing I wanted to talk about is here's Sam, how I work organizing for this kind of a meeting and for the review sessions, but especially for this. So I need you to respect the process a little bit, and try to get back to me early if you're coming to these meetings. When the speaker sends me the handouts for these meetings, they may send me 4 different emails. So first thing is I have to get all those emails together into one, or ask them to get all those emails into one. Then I have to send it out to all of you. If people ask to register for the meeting today or yesterday, then I've got a problem. I've got to go find those emails, which granted is not like the end of the world, except if you're doing 12 other projects and you have all the emails from those projects in your emails also. Then I have to send out the Zoom link again to whoever registered at the last minute. So I'm just begging you, I don't mind if 2 or 3 people register at the last minute, but this time we had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 people who registered in the last 3 or 4 days. Okay. And not all at the same time. So like 2 will, then I have to send it out to them. Then the next couple of days later, 2 more will, and then I have to send it out to them. So just please try to respect the process. I'd rather you respond yes and not show up than wait till the very last minute to tell me you're coming. Okay. Because then I put all those names into an email group and I send all those handouts in one shot, and it's really not a big deal. It's just trying to retrieve everything and get it to the people who didn't respond. That's the problem. Okay, so please try to do that. The last thing that I have under new business is to talk to you, to update you about what's happening with the photography study groups website. Actually, Eileen, where is Eileen? Oh, there she is. Could you unmute yourself and just explain to them a little what's gone on so far?
With the site?
Yeah, and why we've decided to stop.
Well, first of all, the price for renting the website, when I originally got it, it was for 3 years. That 3 years is up December, I think 10th. I'm not sure. Early in December, everything's going to disappear. So we looked into renewing it, and the price for 1 year is now essentially the same, I recall, or else more than what we paid 3 years back. I assume a big part of them feeling like doing things that way is because once you put all this work and pictures in it, and it's a lot of work, you don't want to have it go away. But I haven't loved this website. We've had problems with performance. It was a bit too complicated, whatever. And between the money and how much we use it, and I really don't know that it gets a lot of use, and I don't know how to do the Google analytics to follow it, and you know, that's what businesses do. There's no reason for me to be learning that kind of process. So at this point, and my son-in-law is a part of that. He sets it up and puts things in it for data such that he teaches me how to use the website with what he's put, and then I would go and get all the stuff and put it in. He's very busy. During this pandemic, more people have discovered him, so he has a full-time job and he's doing consulting for others, and we're all very happy for him. But all in all, I don't want to pressure him on this, and so we let it slide. I'm figuring in the spring it can come alive. This is a thought. If we decide that we really need and want a website, at this point, we would be pretty much starting from scratch, because he could save all the pictures for me, and then I'd have to figure out from what gallery, which one, blah, 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 and name that. Yeah, but that'd be okay, not doing that, but having current stuff. If we start again, we began, I don't know, 3 years back.
I'm running a Zoom. I can't talk to you now. Bye. Sorry, I have to put myself on mute. I would just update everybody also that Eileen and I next week or the week after, before the site closes down, are going to go step by step to see what's actually important things that are on the site. And whatever we find, we're going to look across to see if we can port some of that to the Valencia Falls website. Like the Valencia Falls has, there's a picture gallery in there. We can post whatever we want in that photo gallery. So if in some way we post some of the things that Eileen's been including in the Valencia Falls photo gallery and direct people there, because it's extremely unused. I mean, most of the pictures in there are things I posted from events in the community. So it's not like a lot of people are using it to post events. So if we do that and we figure out a way to get our calendar, one of the most useful things on our website was the calendar. And if we can figure out a way to put the calendar and the special events in a usable way right on our webpage, I think we'll have achieved the same thing.
I did talk to Sheila, and she didn't have any suggestion of being able to do that.
Yeah,
but that doesn't mean we couldn't do a PDF and keep changing it, you know, something like that.
It doesn't have to be glamorous. It just has to be functional.
Right.
Okay. All right. So those were the things that I had as far as new business and old business. And I'm gonna just ask if anybody has any questions, any comments about those things, or about anything else that you want to talk about before we get educated.
It would be real helpful to hear what people think about their actual usage, because now it's not like worrying about hurting feelings or anything like that. If we don't need it.
Eileen, I like your website. I like the photos on it, the information on it. What I don't gather from your narrative is whether the problem is price, whether the problem is you are overburdened, or whether you have an associate, someone else who needs to function so that that website is up, and he is now very busy. I think the website is good to the extent that you can get it onto the HOA website or parts of it. Fine, I look at that website. I like to see the world in review and of the pictures that we take and the agenda and anything else. I think you do a fabulous job, and I haven't heard how much it costs. That's one of the issues.
I'd have to go dig in my files.
I think they're charging us for 1 year what they charged for 3 years.
How much?
Yeah, it was like almost $250 or something like that. For
I thought it was like 400. Yeah, maybe I'm wrong.
we were at their mercy. You know, she called and talked to them about the fact that we're a small group. Could we have, you know, a discount? You know, like you can do that with the New York Times and they'll give you it for practically free. These people basically were like, we don't give a damn. And the concern, my additional concern was, okay, so let's say we paid to extend it for a year. They could double it again if they wanted to. So I would like to be free of them. And if we can get the important stuff onto the Valencia Falls website,
Yeah.
we know there's a commitment for that to be there. Sam has something he wants to say.
Yes, I wonder if the major issue is price. Let's pretend for a moment that we had a free web hosting service where we can actually transfer all the stuff to by some means. would be this a resolution to this issue?
The question is for how much would it take in the way of time and commitment, and how many people actually use it? So I can have a show of hands of those of you here that are on
But
screen.
hold on.
Oh, yeah,
I was gonna say, it's too late to find a new website and save this. The only thing that's not too late is if we're willing to pay their price. And I know we were quite clear about absolutely not paying their price. And I really didn't love that website either.
as far as how it operated for you.
Yeah, it was very disturbing to me. And
So again, I'm asking that question because I expect that the content is transferable. That's my expectation. The question is it too much work? So the fundamental principal question is, if we get a service for free and can design a website to your liking, is this an approach?
the subject of transferring the data, which I didn't understand till, I guess, in October or whatever, when I found out, is we went to this new website 3 years back. It got transferred from our first website that blew up and didn't have a backup. It has to go transfer to we would need right now the website we want going forward. In other words, shop for it, purchase it, and that is no small task.
Okay, so let me propose. Long ago, I used Wix, wix.com, and it was providing free service to private individuals. And I can tell you that I used it as a website for a camera group that I used to be part of up in Massachusetts. Worked very well, and the only question remained was two. Did people like the design of it, if you will? And this is up to the host, the one who does the design, in terms of how the screens are designed and all of that. That requires effort, but it's not difficult at all. And two, how many people are willing to use it?
Right. So I go back to my question before we go into this further, how many people with a show of hands on this screen right now actually use the Valencia Falls Club website, not the Valencia, the one we have outside of the community, the vfpsg.club.
Which one are you asking for?
Asking if anybody goes and uses the one that we pay for outside of here.
Adrian, I actually tried to go into it yesterday and I couldn't get into it.
Okay. Just that means you might use it. So just raise your.
I would have used it because I was looking for some reference.
Okay.
But I couldn't get in.
Okay, but that's not the question I'm asking. I want to get an idea of if it's worth it to put more effort into this, who actually uses it. So if you do, just raise your hand so I can see it.
There are only 2 hands up.
No, that's not true. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, so let's say we have 10 people from our club that use it. I don't know how many else would use it. Herb, do you have something that you want to say?
No, I was raising my hand.
Right, I know that. Oh,
Adrian, I'd like to just say,
all right, so Eileen,
Adrian, can I say?
I'd like to just say to Sam that I'll call him offline to find out what his part is in knowing about that website, and if he can do what my son-in-law does, if
together.
Yeah.
That's what I was just gonna say, but Vivian has something she wants to say.
Adrian, when I went on the Princeton Photo Club the other night,
Right.
They look like they're pretty active. Would it pay to reach out to them to see which website they used, and maybe that might help us?
I've looked into, I'm not searching.
I'm
I
gonna
need
do
a
that.
quick here right now to get the data transferred. If we bring up a new website, we don't have a lot of time for that.
Okay, so I
Um,
and Sam are gonna get together and talk about that.
Adrian,
Yes,
I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna call the president of the Princeton Club
okay,
and find out whom we're using, find out who he used to change the site from what it was a year or so ago. And I'll get back to you on that. I know when I ran it, that we were paying a lot less for
okay.
a lot more than you were. So if we still are, I will take care of that and I'll get back to you probably by tomorrow
Why
if Dave gets back to me.
Get back to Eileen.
Okay, can you send me her email address?
Sure, I'll take care of that.
Thank you.
Okay,
Adrian, if you need money for anything that you do on this website, I'll put up as much as $250.
oh, that's very sweet, Herb, thank you.
And Eileen, I would like to learn to help you more if you can teach me. I'm willing.
Well, I can tell you, I just confirmed that Wix.com is still free.
Okay, all right,
And
great,
and they have their own templates if you want.
Adrian, if I might mention something,
yes,
I don't know that anybody's thought about it, but I do know that AUM, Morshi's wife in that place, which is a family-run operation, she does website design.
right.
And I'm just wondering, I'm just kind of contemplating whether there's a way to approach them with from the advertising perspective in our community of giving us a break and designing something that we would then give them credit for on the site and kind of advertise for them. I mean, it's just a thought.
Eileen, make a note. That sounds like a good idea. They've been really wonderful to our community and they've got a lot of business because of that.
Yep, they've been phenomenal with me. I know that. So,
Well, I'm gonna see them personally in a few days when I take my computer, and so.
Okay, great. Okay,
Good.
anybody else have any questions or comments before I pass the baton? Nope. Sam, your hand is still up. Is that a new thing or you just didn't take it down?
Sorry. Where am I? Where am I? Okay. I'm actually trying to send an email to Arlene about this
Okay.
website.
Everybody back on mute and pass on to Anne.
all righty. So
Anne, you're on mute.
And you're on mute.
I'm done now. All right, we better? Do you have me?
Yes.
I
Okay.
said yes, but I was on mute.
Okay, I'm going to try to motivate you all with a challenge that's going to be a little different than maybe pursuing the type of image you normally would like to shoot. And let me say this first, because I have to just do a brief conceptualization of what it is we're trying to accomplish today. For those of you who have the equipment, who know how to really shoot what I would say is pure macro, meaning that one-to-one magnification with the macro lenses, and you've experienced that, that's wonderful if you have that kind of specialized macro lens and equipment. Some of us do not. So what Eileen and I are going to concentrate on today is more what we would refer to as pseudo macro or close-up photography, things that don't necessarily require you to have specialized equipment. Some of us shoot with smartphones. There was a video that we put out for you to take a little look at, and that particular video is emphasized putting an app on an iPhone. I don't know what the app would be for the Android phone, but it's an app called Camera Plus, and it has a macro capability. You can actually flip over and ask it to do macro. You can also get little tiny clips that go on your cell phone, which aren't expensive, that give you macro capability with a clip on. Some have point and shoot cameras. Some of those have scene modes, and that could be a macro mode. Some shoot with DSLRs with the bigger or the medium-sized telephoto lenses. I will show you some pictures later, by the way, that are going to be shot at maybe 100 millimeters, 200 millimeters, which is within the realm of what most of us can shoot. And I'm also going to show you smartphone pictures that I shot with nothing but the app. No clips, no lenses, just my smartphone. And some of us have also what I finally, I refer to it as my rocket launcher. It's the big monster long lens. If you have one of those, it's great for skittish wildlife. It gets you closer to things. The problem is it's bulky, it's heavy, it's a monster to handle, but it has its advantages. So we've all got something different to shoot with, and I'm not going to really get into that equipment with what you're using. I'm going to try to give you an overview today with Eileen that will maximize your potential of the camera and the equipment that you do have that you're shooting with, and kind of give you the basics of the fundamentals that are involved, regardless of what you're shooting with, to have more success in that approach. And what do Eileen and I have in mind for subjects? Well, you've all been on, in your past life, scavenger hunts, you've been on road rallies. I am going to ask you with Eileen to go out right in your backyard, walking, no threat of COVID, you can do this alone. And I'm going to ask you to hunt for creatures. What could those creatures be? They could be anywhere from butterflies, frogs, grasshoppers, lizards, geckos, moths, caterpillars, wasps, hornets, spiders, dragonflies, bees. There's lots of little tiny creatures. And what I'm going to ask everybody to try, and you can do that by walking, by just moving slowly, and by training your eye to see things that you wouldn't normally look for. And the task and the challenge is to try to come back to us with 2 images that are going to basically show some detail in those creatures. Show us something you wouldn't normally notice about color, shape, detail, eyes, antenna, little hair on the legs, whatever it is that you can come up with that basically allows you to see something you wouldn't normally see. And all you've got to do is walk and look. And the pictures that I'm going to show you later, and some of which Eileen has, were local. I went out the other night and I just shot a whole bunch of things, just walking around in Morocco on the pod, just to see what I could find. Barbara, you probably would have said, who the hell's got that camera outside my window shooting my bushes on the corner? But I knew you had a nice flowered bush over there, and I did find something intriguing there. So that's the challenge for the day. And I will give you some more basics after Eileen does her part of the presentation that kind of zeroes into exactly what it is you need to do with your equipment that will let you kind of maximize the potential for the exercise for today. Eileen, how about it? You ready? Got to unmute, Eileen. There you go. Eileen, are you moving over to a share screen mode now?
I was going to, but it didn't go, and it says host disabled attendee screen sharing.
Why would I have done that? No, it says 1 participant can share at a time.
Oh, so when she said, and then I clicked, okay. So I'll go again. Nope.
All right, I'll make it multiple and see what that does. Try again.
Yeah, because I'm not on our square sheet now, so the share screen, so.
There you go.
Okay, I'm good, I'm good.
There you go.
hear me?
Yes.
Okay, good.
By the way, I just want to jump in and tell everyone that Butterfly World is half price until November 25th. So if anyone wants to go there, apparently it's pretty safe.
Great, thank you.
I think the hours are 11 to 5 on that, David. I looked last night to see if it was open, because that's probably where I'm going to head back.
I think I saw yesterday opens at 9 actually, but whatever.
Eileen, where are you? What's happening?
I'm struggling to, I think I'm good. I think I'm good. Whoops, I didn't do that.
You're on a slideshow.
Yeah, I don't want it to move by itself.
So,
All
but
right, I'm gonna give this a try, and if it messes me up, I'll go back. First of all, the reason, especially at this time in our life, is this pandemic, our subject seemed like something very accessible, very easy, and more than that, getting us out of the house instead of looking through our archives as we do for most everything nowadays. So I'm explaining that because I heard there was some concerns and some, I'm going to show you basically that you have everything you need for whichever direction you want to go, whatever you're going to be using. So we can, and obviously I haven't seen this or heard this till now. Anne has found you a whole bunch of stuff being accessible right here. Much of my stuff has been at Loxahatchee, which is like 15-minute drive from here. But because of the concerns I saw, I went out Saturday with my iPhone walking, and I took a couple pictures there that I will talk about. So I'm starting with the iPhone. This particular first photo, which is 2 different photos, but I think it's the same wasp. He was very friendly. These are both iPhone shots. And that's something, you know, when Anne said, training your eye to see, that's what is so fun when you start looking and then you find one that's accommodating, a good subject. And these flowers, I didn't move much from one to another, but you see they're different flowers. And I do believe I just kept following this guy because he was really nice and slow and then getting his stuff and all that. So this is an iPhone picture. And I'm gonna go next to the second. This is an iPhone picture that I did Saturday here in the community.
wow.
And I didn't crop it on this. I wanted to show you the whole thing. So here is this bee. I was walking around the lake. I wasn't looking for insects or anything, but then as I was getting by the passive park, I thought I'm just gonna walk in and see. I had my iPhone because we always have our iPhone, and I was listening to podcasts. And then I thought, let me just look. And this is right out there by the bench that's by the water. This plant, colorful, pretty. And there was this bee. And I then used what is called a burst mode. I don't know if you all know that, but everyone has it. Well, that's what it's called on an iPhone, where you hold the shutter down and you get a whole bunch of shots. And you hold it down just for a short little time because you'll hear click, 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 click. You don't want to do 2,000 pictures, you know, you just shoot it. So I took the pictures that I got with the burst mode, and I'm making this for the sense of teaching you what you're going to get and how my experience went. This is the one I just showed you. I cropped it smaller so the bee is bigger part of it. And here, this was the very first shot of the sequence that I got when I was pressing. Then there maybe were about 6 or 7 more shots from that one press. And then, you know, with the iPhone, you're looking at the screen, I'm seeing, I can't see any B, I don't think it's there. And of course I had my finger up then to have it stop shooting. This guy is part of that sequence. So here he is checking out and deciding that he wants that flower. Do you see my cursor? Am I pointing? And okay, good. And this one is the same sequence, and clearly he's zeroing in and going to that one, I think. At that point, I realized he's gone. So I stopped shooting. I don't think I even moved my feet at that point. I waited to look and he was back, and that was here. I show you that he went into that flower, and then there were several of him coming back out. But I took this one because now he's entirely out, and you can see that he's lots fuller of the, I don't know, is that pollen that gets all over his body? So all these pictures, which would be like this, and you crop them however you wish. But I thought they came out pretty great, and I picked a colorful background to begin with, so we had some brightness, and so I was pleased with how that came out. That was in the passive park. So this is my few tips I'm going to pass on, all with relation with using your iPhone to capture some pictures. First of all, you want to use your feet to move close to your subject. I personally, this is an iPhone 6, so I don't have any of that Zoom stuff. But in the online class I was taking, and one that Sam taught one time, it's better that you don't stretch the screen, or in the case with the people with the Zoom lenses, it's relying on software. But if instead you use your feet and go up close, then you're getting a sharper shot. That's according to the instructor. And then of course it all depends on how stable and good you are with your hands. I'm not the best, but I found I was getting good shots here with this guy. If you move and you're too close, you won't be able, and I'm sure you've all encountered this with any camera, you won't be able to press the shutter down, won't take the shot. So you simply step back and take it again. These shots, I looked at the properties, and the focal length is 4.15 millimeters. So I'm about between 2 and 3 inches from the subject. And it was shooting with no issue. You want to lightly tap your focus point, because when you're so close, the camera needs to know what do you really want to be sharp. And the closer you are, the less will be very sharp. So you want it to zero in on that. So tap it lightly, and I suppose lightly is, I'm saying, because number one, that's all it needs. And number two is, if you press hard, you're definitely gonna make I would make my camera move. You don't want to do that, but you want to press lightly to focus the point. And then you see it's in focus because you get your little square. Again, I'm talking iPhone. I don't know the other Android phone. But there must be a way that it displays where you're focused and you see what you got. What happens is, as you can see in these shots, well, with burst mode, that's different. I started with him and I think the camera knows it's doing burst mode and follows him, sort of like the artificial intelligence of our cameras. But you don't, everything you read that tells you to lock in the exposure. I don't think, for me anyway, I don't lock in the exposure because as soon as he gets such that the camera can't find him anymore and he's not in focus, then instead of just clicking quickly where you see that he is and starting again, you have an extra tap to unlock the focus and then start over. And they don't stay around the flower waiting for you, you know what I mean? So you got to grab these things quickly. Also, it's nice to pick a subject that you will have a nice background. And I'll have other pictures here. It's kind of a busy background, but I love the bright pink of the flowers. But background means a lot. At Loxahatchee, I don't find a lot of these beautiful flowers where I go walking, but I'm after the shots of the insects. So for me, the real fun is finding these guys. Now, everything else that you're going to see now are most likely from Loxahatchee, unless I point out one or two that isn't. Those were my iPhone shots. This is now I'm covering with two different shots. The SCN mode, this is on your point and shoots or on your DSLRs. I have never really used them, but we wanted to cover that topic because other people might. The SCN, I always think it's for scene, but I don't really know. I'm going to cover two of the scene modes. This one is landscape, and the other one I'm covering is macro. I went through around the community. Well, this is at Loxahatchee, but I went around the community taking shots. It didn't matter if it was insects or whatever, just getting familiar with what these scene modes do. And they are automatic settings. The scene modes are set up for what they're trying to accomplish by definition, like of a landscape, which I would say that this is covering a lot of detail. This particular picture, which came out very good and very sharp, it's always a surprise when I get home and look, oh, nice. But it was a very small part of my landscape scene. And I was zoomed out at 300 millimeters. When I'm using my own camera, I'm using the zoom lens and going close with that. And he was way less than probably a third of the photograph. And yet, look at how sharp he stayed. And he happened to settle on a nice little flowery thing that made for a nice shot. This one, that, by the way, I looked them all up, so I'm going to share. He's called a paper wasp. And by the way, I'm not saying that those are the best modes for this that seem to be for me. I think everybody has different cameras and has different likes and dislikes, and that's why I suggest walk around here and take a bunch of shots with each one. This scene mode is macro. He's a lizard. He's not a gecko because he has eyelids. I couldn't find a gecko. The depth of field here, obviously you can see, actually I was going to say that I'm very close. My zoom lens is very close and it's at the extent, the full 300 millimeter. He is on a rock, and what you see back here is the same rock. So he's not really a big distance from it. It kind of goes down and comes back up. But that's how the macro scene mode really did what you want, where you're showing, here's the subject I'm after, and then it gives you this nice blur. So that worked well. For me, I have to say I wasn't overly thrilled with scene modes because I'm used to using aperture priority or manual, mostly aperture priority. I used to use manual more. And this scene mode, it seems to not let you take the picture till the insect is sharp, or lizard or whatever. The lizards are easy compared to the insects because look, he's looking at, you know, what's going on here. He wasn't hardly moving, so that makes it easy. But the insect one, as soon as he'd move, and I'd already seen that I had him sharp, it didn't let me hit the shutter because he moved, or I moved, or the breezes did his perch moved. And so it was very difficult to get to take the shot. Whereas when you're in your own like aperture priority, it lets me take the shot, but then I get home and find all these blurry pictures. So, and that's easier for me than trying to keep up with getting the shot. Now I'm moving to the general shots. These are all aperture priority. That's my go-to. They're mostly all at 300 millimeter zoom, and they're mostly all at the they're all, I forgot what I was going to say. Never mind, couldn't have been important. Oh, I do want to mention, with my zoom out to 300 millimeter, I don't know if you all do this. I didn't used to till I took a class at Wakota-Hatchie. They did a walking tour years ago, early in the morning, and we were a group, and they would tell us exactly what settings to be on. And the instructor kept not only reminding me, but getting others in the class to come over and remind me that your hand has to be under the lens, not over it. I had my hand over the lens because it made it easier to dial the zoom, but they cured me of that. So you put your hand under the lens and that helps you for the steady shot. This is called a Miami blue butterfly, It's named for the bright blue coloring on its back. However, the blue coloring is only visible when its wings are outstretched, and then I'd have to been behind them. And I didn't even know any of that stuff about who he was until I looked it up afterwards. So therefore, you don't get to see the blue. But that's what it is, a Miami blue butterfly. This is at Wakota-Hatchie, and this little lizard just wanted to give me a nice composition. He just stayed there for hours, I think. He was so cooperative. This looked very much like it might have been the same one, and I just put it into black and white to see how much that lends, and then it's personal taste. I kind of like color, but this guy is one insect that was not at Loxahatchee or here. It's a red butt wasp, and I found it at somewhere that Ann told me to go, that I think is called Wellington Refuge. She can tell you when she is back on. But we were walking back fast to the car, and the light was such that I had to stop quick, grab this shot, and off I went. I thought, wow, I try so much harder for that. Light is important. And now I'm going to show dragonflies. This I took and put it this way because I took a macro online class a few summers ago. I think someone else was in it with me. It was like what we're doing now, nothing to do with using macro lenses. I certainly never had one. This side on the right, I took during that class. I had never focused on trying to catch something up close like macro shooting. And this was on a littoral in our backyard, you know, where you can't get real near anyway because you'll be walking in knee-deep water or something. And I saw all his colors, and I, you know, again, I zoomed out, it looked blurry. I do the half shutter, unless I was back focusing by then, I don't remember. But anyway, and it was a different camera than I have now, and a different lens. And its extreme length is 270 millimeters. And all of a sudden, it went into focus. While I'm looking, it went from a blur to boom, there I am. And I shot it. And I was so thrilled with that. And this guy is at Wakota-Hatchee, and now it's not a surprise anymore. When you get them, you get them. And I just thought they should look at each other. He's with my new camera. He's at 300 millimeters distance, and you know, the light changes things and so on. But it's in the photographer's hands more than the camera, I guess is my point. And this is the same guy. And because his name is a 4-spotted pennant dragonfly, I wanted to show this one of all 4 of his pennants. And look, he's so cute. I mean, they're cute, right? And this one is the orange dragonfly. And I had good lighting. It came out very nice, I think. This is the last shot, and I'm showing what you don't want to do, basically. I love that I got this guy and the blank and all that, but he's over my head on a ramp-like thing, wood that leads you up to the deck of at Loxahatchee. And I get all that close up, and it, you know, no dulling of that. And then there were no clouds. I don't have an interesting sky. And this guy was right on it, and I'm pointing down at him, and I loved his colors, but it's totally fighting with the wood. So just giving you some points to look out for. And that's it. Any questions, or I'll send it back to Ann. Are you ready, Ann? Did anyone want to ask anything?
Just a statement. There's a huge difference between the camera, the iPhone, and your DSLR. The dragonflies are beautiful, Eileen.
Yeah. Thank you.
You're welcome.
But you know
So-
what? after you do your shoot and use your cameras and all that stuff, you'll also be thinking about it when you're not with your camera. So it's worthwhile to practice a bit and try your luck with the iPhone. Just saying. All right, so I have to say, share my screen here.
Hi, Eileen, it's Eva. Can I say something?
Yeah, I'm looking to get it back to Ann, so go ahead and talk.
It's just a compliment to tell you that I've sworn by my iPhone, and even though I have an iPhone 10, there's no way I can get the quality of photography that you have with the DSL camera. So my compliments to you. The photographs are just absolutely gorgeous. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
I have a question. I wondered if you took it with a 12, where the iPhone 12, where the camera is supposed to be so much better, or at least that's what some of the reviews say, whether there would still be a lot of difference, but it would certainly be better than the iPhone 8 or 10.
No, my opinion is if anybody's out there with a 12, go ahead and let's see.
I have one on order. Ann, did you get the screen share from me? You're on mute. Maybe I am too.
All right, click off your screen share on the top. The green thing, you have to click off that up above.
I clicked on new share.
No, you don't want a new share. You just want to unshare.
Stop share.
Oh, sorry. I don't see on the stop share. Got it.
All right, so that I think does work for us. Okay.
You got it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Some good questions about the iPhone. Maybe I can perhaps give you a little information about that. Let's see if we can do this. All right. So this is what I want to touch base with you. First, I'm going to make a couple of statements, and it does involve the iPhone. I do have an iPhone 11, and that's what I shot with. You'll see these iPhone pictures. Here's the deal about equipment, okay? Getting close is the goal, okay? So however you do that, as Eileen mentioned with your feet, you need to get close. Cropping is the last resort. So you don't want to, as Eileen said, pinch the iPhone screen and move your zoom. Get your feet in and be patient. Because here's the limitations. It's how close you can get with the lens that you have, and also the working distance of your camera in terms of acquiring focus. If you have an iPhone, you can get, I think within the iPhone, 3 to 4 inches away. And then when you just touch that area that you want to focus, it will acquire focus, I think. But some lenses will only let you focus maybe 12 inches away. So you can't get in as close as you'd like to get in because your camera will say, I'm not going to acquire focus. They all have a given limitation about how close it will allow you to get before it will stop focusing. So your limit is how close you get, and your limit is what lens you're working with. The last part of this, which is critical for the iPhone people, is you are limited basically in macro photography by the pixels in your camera and the size of your sensor. So if you are shooting with an iPhone, you need to get as purely much of the picture as you can, get in as close as you can before you snap that picture, because you will not be able to crop the way somebody else would be able to crop it to shooting on a 24 megapixel point and shooter DSLR. Some cameras shoot 36 megapixels and 42 megapixels. So it's not as critical that you get in quite that close because you can crop. And if you're in the iPhone mode, you can't really crop any more than about half of the picture before you really start to lose it with the newer iPhones. So those are your limitations to keep in mind. So I'm going to move on here with some basics, okay? I do not shoot when I do the pseudo macro stuff and close-up photography. I handhold. I do not use my tripod. I'm too lazy to set it up and go stalk for a bug that's not moving. And I don't certainly want to move around with my tripod to try to stalk a bug that's flying around and moving. But stabilization and vibration reduction on your camera lenses, if you have that, turn it on. Second thing is I would suggest that you shoot an aperture priority or a manual exposure mode, because you want to, one, eliminate and minimize your depth of field so that you don't have a lot of clutter in the background. So the closer to wide open you get, the more light you'll have and the more blurred depth of field you'll have that gives you a cleaner composition. The second thing is with shutter speed. To me, my shutter speed, even if you're an aperture priority, watch your shutter speed, because I don't want my shutter speed to ever go less than 1/125, because bugs move, little creatures move. If they're flying like the bee and they happen to come into one point where they're in the hover mode, they'll stay kind of closer. But I tend to shoot with my camera shutter speed a lot faster than that, which is I shoot in manual exposure mode so I can control my shutter speed and my aperture. So what do I do with my ISO? I make my ISO whatever it is that I need to make it to come up with a balanced exposure. If I need to make an adjustment and my shutter speed is what I want and my aperture is where I want it, and I don't have enough light and it's underexposed, I bump my ISO up, and then from there I worry about what's going to happen with noise later on. So those are your priorities. And also, as Eileen mentioned, shoot on a continuous shooting mode or burst mode. And you'll see it in these pictures coming up, because as the creatures move or turn or walk or fly, they will give you different looks. And depending upon the plane of focus that the creature's in, shooting down from the back versus shooting from the tail versus shooting from the head, these little guys turn around very quickly. So shoot burst mode so that you can pick the best one that accomplishes your maximum potential for that shot. And I will say one thing, there's 3 elements that are involved for everybody, regardless of what you shoot with. One is lighting, natural light. I don't shoot with a flash for the most part when I'm doing this. I shoot early morning, late afternoon, or flat light where you don't have a lot of, we have a lot of clouds. Neutral overcast lighting is kind of great. If you shoot the pictures in the late afternoon, you will notice that you're going to have a warmer hue to the picture. If you shoot, you're going to have more of the oranges, reds, and yellows pop more. If you shoot in the, that was if you shoot in the late afternoon. If you shoot in the morning, they're going to be cooler colors. And angle is really get down on level, try to get down to the bug's level, try to drop down to your knee if you need to. I do use a knee pad when I go out walking, so that if I have to kneel on one knee to get down to the bug's level to get the angle of composition, that's what I do. The second thing is with composition, and these are things that apply to every bit of photography that you do. What do you want to shoot? What are you looking for? In this case, be patient, stalk it, find it, and use your eyes. When you find the subject, do you want to shoot it horizontally or do you want to shoot it vertically? It makes a difference in the composition. The next thing is, what do you want in the picture? And what do you not want in the picture? Decide when you're looking at the creature, do I want this to be behind that creature? And if you don't, try to move to a different angle to get a better composition. If you want to eliminate part of the clutter in the background. And sometimes the way to do that is move the leaf or the branch that the creature might be on. Just kind of, got a ladybug, you got a little caterpillar. You can move the branch away and get down and change your angle and get a very different composition by doing so. And I would say try to look to get detail in the eyes, the face, the wings, the color, and the shape. That's what you're kind of looking to turn around and bring out. Simplicity is good, minimalism is good. And I would say the biggest thing is, Eileen said, use your feet, be slow, move carefully and slowly and methodically. And as you're stepping in, keep taking a couple of pictures, because you never know when the creature is going to leave. So that might be as close as you're going to be able to get. So if I say, gee, it's not close enough, but I really like it closer, and I haven't shot the picture and then the creature moves, I've lost it. So I shoot a little, move in a little, shoot a little, move in a little. Scene mode, as Eileen said, is good. If you don't have a macro mode, Eileen said she played with landscape. I tell you to try to play with portrait, because you might get less depth of field in the portrait scene mode. And that's about it. And I'm going to move on to some pictures that will, and I'm going to start with this in a different way. Hang on a minute. Fit, let me go in here. Okay. All right, everybody see this? All right, these are
We're still,
iPhone. Go ahead, Adrian.
we're still seeing your notes.
You're still seeing my notes. Hang on, let me get out of my notes. All right, hang on, I'm gonna come back in again. I got it, thank you for that. How about now?
Flower.
All right, so here's what I'm gonna do. I walked outside, Adrian was laughing the other day, and I said, I'm determined to get a couple of iPhone shots to let you see. No special lenses on my iPhone. These are simply flowers, but all I want you to do is notice the clarity and look at the focus of the iPhone. And then from there, I'm gonna move and just show you the capability of a simple iPhone shot with detail. These are just flowers. Okay, then what happens is, and I think these are pretty nice iPhone shots. And I moved in as close. Now, here's the first one I found. I said, all right, now I'm hunting for the bugs. You see the two little bugs on the stem, and there's an ant inside. So I started moving forward. Now I found a bee with my iPhone. I got in pretty close, about 3-4 inches away, shot the bee. Then I got in closer and got that, and he's moving there and just has set down. You can see wings, you can see detail, you can see, I don't know if these are his eyes. I'm not quite sure what that is. There's another one. If you can look up here, but you've got a lot of detail in here that you normally would not see by just staring at a bee in the flower until you moved in closely and tried to shoot it and capture some detail of something different. To me, it makes me appreciate nature, the wildlife, things that you just take for granted that you don't normally see. So that's to tell you, yes, you can be very successful with your iPhone. You just have to be more patient and know that you can't crop. Get into it, and it'll take you a little longer to find the shot you want. But these were all the other night, Adrian, when I met you and I was walking outside, I just walked around Morocco Lake. I walked on the street. I was invading people's driveways. Yes, I was shooting their flowers. However, I looked at you, I was in Barbara Maker's driveway, but that's what I got just in about an hour.
Is this capture with Camera Plus or just with?
Yes, I had the Camera Plus app on it, and it does have a little macro mode, which is its scene mode. It does have one, and I found the app very lovely. I liked it, and it's nice and easy and easily works. You can lock focus, you can do all kinds of things with it, change your exposure modes, works very well. But yes, if you look, and I'm sure with Android users, I don't have it yet. I'd have to do a little research to find the app that would give you that macro capability, but I'm sure it's out there because anything you want these days is out there if you look for it. So let's move on a little bit. This was with my iPhone in the clubhouse. I was having lunch one day and I saw this, and then I enhanced that, and that's really what that critter looked like with my iPhone. This, I was backing the car out and I saw this on Deb's car and I'm saying, this is kind of funny. I call him Tyrannosaurus Rex. If you ever see these things, they can get to be 14 inches long and they have teeth. They're not particularly nice geckos. They're aggressive. They're called night anoles, but that happened to be in my driveway, just shooting outside the car window as I was backing the car out. This is a little iPhone shot.
Wow.
Of a little midge fly that I got, and you can see the details there. So what I did was I put it through a little HDR, and then from there I did, and this is to take off more on what we did the other night in the ordinary to extraordinary. I then said, all right, what can I do with this? So I turned it to that, and then I turned it to that, which is more cartoonish. So just to give you an idea of how you can take some of these little insect pictures and move with them with a simple filter, nothing big. All right, here we go now to regular DSL camera. Some of these were shot with bigger lens, some of them with smaller lenses. Some of them I was only 100 or 2 millimeters away, some of them I was further. But this is a matter of just motivating you to what's out there to shoot. You can go to Loxahatchee, you can walk the street right here. You can go behind on the back of the lake and look at the littorals. You'll find dragonflies out there. So we move through to this, and again, minimal background, very simplistic, not a lot of negative space. This is shot from an angle where, yeah, I got the wings and I got some pretty detail on the back, but I love eyes. And frankly, this will be a delete, but this is what I'm showing you about move around and try to move the branch and move and get them in a different position. You'll get a totally different angle. This is a totally different angle. Little dragonfly. If you look at the detail, got little antennas, got lips. I swear it looks like it's got makeup on. Looks like it's got little earbuds. It's the weirdest looking thing when you see it up close. It's kind of fascinating to see it. And a little hair on its legs. This is another dragonfly with the almost cartoonish looking straight on it. And again, because my aperture is wide open, you may lose some of the focal interest in the tail because I was looking and I nailed the head with my focal point. If I opened up and I decided to shoot at f8, I might have gotten more in the background, but I might have had more clutter in the background. So I would never go past f8 to shoot. That is on clutter and there was no way to get rid of the clutter. So that's a lover grasshopper. This is the bigger version of the night owl. And this is a kind of a fly on a, I forget the name of the flower. It's just not cropping. Beautiful flowers. I forget the name of them. They're in Butterfly World all over. In fact, I probably shot that at Butterfly World. As I shot that in Butterfly World. Different look, very busy background, but that's where they were. I could not open up any wider to minimize my background on it. I like this. I like the detail here, but I don't like the plane of focus because the wing was flapping. So on one of the wings, he folded the wing, and so I don't have them spread wide open. Not my favorite shot, but you can see the detail and the clarity. You can see the little mouth and the little antennas with the little red things on the end. So it's kind of fun to look at these creatures up close and really appreciate them. That almost, you can see the fur on the bottom of the butterfly with pretty flowers. A lot of these are going to have flowers in them because that's where the creatures like to hang. So you're going to have some interesting floral shots as well. And the thing with the people who have iPhones, smartphones, we know that you won't be able to get quite the detail that we're getting with the DSLRs, but you can get detail, and we know that you don't have the capability to really blow things up like we do. But you still, as I showed you before, can get some interesting shots if you work on it. So these are all different kinds of bee shots, and you can see that's a kind of a cricket type thing. I don't know what it is. I saw it on the ground and shot it. Then you can get lizard looks. He was eating the branches, eating the foliage. More bees. Another dragonfly. That's a close-up of that dragonfly that really nails all the detail in the head and the wings. And that would be my final shot as far as playing around with my butterflies and my little, I was with Irene Hill in the car, following her, and shot this, the ostrich right next to her car, and then just composited in through some little interesting creatures in there. So gives you something to look forward to do. So what can I do with my creatures? You can do those kinds of things. Questions?
In the chat, somebody's asking if you're spot metering.
No. I know that, Adrian, I'm going to laugh with you because you're going to appreciate that. I almost never spot meter unless I'm looking at a picture that is in very, very harsh light with high contrast. And I know a lot of people do. I don't, because I find that the live view and the metering on my D800 that I had on my Nikon, or even now on my Sony, works beautifully for me with very little effort in post-processing to play with blacks and whites. So when I need to change those high contrast images, and sometimes even for me, if it's high contrast and it's not a moving subject, I'll tend to HDR it and bracket it and blend them. So no, I don't. It's not to say that it's not a positive thought. I know that some of you do, and I certainly respect. Try it both ways and see what works for you. Absolutely. Other question?
Yes, and why do you turn off IS with the VR?
I don't turn it off. I turn it on. I turn my vibration.
Oh, I thought you said off. I'm sorry.
No, on. Yeah, you will never get that kind of.
Okay, right. Okay.
Yeah. And as Eileen said, review the film about how to put your hands on that iPhone, because it really will help as you're moving into your subject so that you're holding in the most steady position you can find. It has to do with steady hands, no matter what you're shooting with. You've got to be really deathly still when you're hand holding. Take a deep breath, squeeze the trigger and let it fly. So, anybody else have a question? We'll stop sharing.
Adrian mentioned Camera Plus. What is that?
In the video that I sent out, that was Adrian sent you. One of the videos is about iPhone. I don't remember exactly the name of which one because we sent forwards out, but one of those starts with the app right up front in the beginning of the screen, and it's Camera Plus 2, I think is what I have. It might have evolved a little bit differently, but if you look at that video that we sent out, it basically really, the guy does all the shooting with it. And I saw it, I'm saying, okay, I've got the app. Let me go walk around the neighborhood, go to Barbara's driveway, go find flowers. And so that's how that happened. And I actually am pleased with the app. I think it does help to flip it into a macro mode. It minimizes maybe perhaps some of your background as well.
It's $4.99 in the App Store.
There you go.
And on your notes that you were giving us hints on how to shoot them, were those emailed to us? Because I
No, they
couldn't
were
seem to
not.
find them.
I did them at last minute, but I will certainly give them to Adrian and she can send them all out as a follow-up. Everything you just saw on that screen.
Okay, that'd be really helpful. Thank you.
We'll do that.
Great performance here.
I have the Camera Plus on my phone, which I have never used. So now I have the courage to go out today and try it.
Good girl. Yep. Yep. You just have to be persistent about walking and train your eyes to see. Get near the bushes, especially flowers, and just wait. Get real close, use your eyes, just catch the little glimpses of tiny movements, and then study the little creature, and you'll find that it has a habitual path of motion, where it's going, what it likes to do. So again, I got those shots yesterday in a half hour, and this will make you also shoot better flowers. Really well. They give you something more interesting in the flower. Some of the floral shots can be really pretty that way. Oh, so it's a challenge, okay? I'm challenging you all to go for your walk and try to go on the bug hunt and find a creature. Sit outside in your lanai and watch for a gecko. I don't have any, my cats have eaten them all, but they're around.
And would using a 50mm lens help, or should I stick with the 18-400?
I would personally, I would go with the 18-400 because especially with you, because of your feet and movement, it will be easier for you to have less movement and agility to move around to try to capture them with a 400 because you can just bang that baby up and zoom in on them. Yeah.
Are you using evaluative metering then instead of spot, or?
I do, but Miriam, I know that you are somebody that is very, very proficient using both, and so is Adrian, and I would say shoot both ways. See what works for you. See what works.
Okay.
May I add something?
Yeah.
For those who use DSLRs, there are inexpensive attachments that allow you to use your zoom lens, believe it or not, as a macro shot with special attachments that actually end up being installed between the camera and the lens.
Yeah.
And the correct ones also activate the zoom, the electronics and all of that. But it actually allows you to be relatively far away from the subject matter, especially if it's a creature, so you don't chase it away, and get fantastic enlargements that basically capture the entire sensor area. The only downfall is that by doing this, the amount of light available is reduced by the extension of the lens forward. The implication is that you probably need to use a higher f number. I'm sorry, if you're using higher f number, the implication is you have to possibly change the ISO, but you get excellent results.
So to take off on where Sam was saying, and I would say this to everybody, Just go enjoy your little scavenger hunt and go out and see if it motivates you. See what you can find, see how you do with what you have. If you want to pursue other options for either your iPhones, your smartphones, whether that be a little auto clip, whether that be, I do have, which I did not use for any of these pictures, I do have a little macro clip that just snaps onto my iPhone. And there's also extension tubes. There's also something called a Rainer ring, which you put on the outside of your lens that does give you macro capability on whatever lens you're using. There's also macro filter rings that you can put on your lens. There's a million other pieces of equipment, some of which are really inexpensive, that basically will allow you to get closer to your subject, magnify your subject closer to a life-size detailed scene. And at that point, if there's information you're looking after this is all over and you take your shots and you are intrigued by the possibilities, give me a call. I will be glad to discuss all kinds of options with you and put you on a path where you can investigate what might work for you, depending upon what you're shooting with, what your camera is, what your smartphone is, and see what we can do. So I'd be very glad to do that with anybody. And I'm sure that for me, when I'm bored and I go out birding and I'm looking to really get birds in motion, some days the birds aren't around, some days nothing's around, I can make something happen out of nothing, because I'll say, okay, switch gears, start looking for small things and start looking for creatures and flowers. I will always find another way to shoot something different, depending upon, it might not be my original intention when I went out to shoot, but so I think it's exciting. I really love the detail on the creatures. And every now and then you get something special that's got a little look or a little detail in it that you never knew was there. So, and it will make you get outside and walk and do something outside safely in your own community. Maybe we should tell Russ that there might be too many peeping Toms in people's driveways, so with cameras, so that Russ can alert people, because that's what Adrian said to me today. Somebody's going to call and turn you in that some wacko is trespassing on their lawn, taking pictures of their windows. But
Actually, we'll put something on the message board, because that is going to happen.
it will, but I laughed. I was at Barbara's house the other day. They were shooting on the side where the little orange flowers were. And I said, and I'm laughing as I'm shooting. And I did that in some of the landscaping that's around in the area with these bellflowers and orchids. You can really find some interesting little critters that hang around those flowers. But you have to get a little invasive with people's privacy to do it. But, whatever.
I just want to remind everybody that the two review, go out and shoot, send me 2 pictures. The deadline for pictures is November 29th. And the review session is December 4th. Okay, so you have till the 29th, send me your pictures and we'll do the review on December 4th. And that's all on the agenda paper. Okay.
All right, and I will send out my notes so that Adrian can send them out to everybody.
Yep, we'll do that. And Lorraine, I will add you to the list because you weren't on my original list. I'll make sure you get your handouts. I wrote a note. Thank you, everybody. This was fun.
Thank you all.
Okay, have a
different.
Bye, everybody. Thank you.
Thank you to the presenter.
It was really good, Adrian.
Thank you. Thank you, ladies. Thank you.
Well done, thank you.
Everyone.
I hope I motivated somebody to do something different.
We'll see.